Of course, cloud is not like the traditional ERP system. It has many different, technology and also the design within the software in order to cope with the cloud requirement. But I don't think we have enough time to talk today. But later on, if you have any questions, we can talk about that. So for the cloud, we also have a complete suite of the solution covering different areas like the project, financial, procurement, supply chain. Just give you an idea what's today a cloud solution we have. And for cloud solution, there's some point to look at cloud ERP in a different way, because we understand that today is no more talking about the transaction. We're talking about information. We're talking about the intelligence. That's why the ERP solution already what we call embedded analytics. And every role and responsibility, they will have their KPI and their scorecard, and then they will try to look at their business. The first question is, what should we do? And what's happening there? To tell the user what's happening within the business domain. So that's why there's a lot of KPI, like what is the expiring contract, how much is outstanding, any hard contract limit is reached. All these things we will try to alert the user in order to look at the system. Not like the traditional way we pick the menu. I want to create the report. I want to query the the contract. Not in that approach anymore. We're trying to more proactive using the embedded analytics. Okay, you can skip this. This is an example. And the second is a mobile, right? Imagine you are the salesman. You spend all your working time all on the road, seeing the customer. You don't have any time, to sit in the office to make your expenses. We are leveraging the mobile, solution to do some business for you. A typical example, when I, have a meal with a customer, then basically I can try to, to create my, what we call the cloud expense. And even, I don't think you don't have the experience of that, right? But anyway, when you claim an expense, you spend somebody by your own pocket money, then you need to claim it by a company, and then you need to provide your invoice, your proof, and input transaction, submit, your manager approve, and then you get paid for the expense. That is the process. But in the past, we have to do it on the office, photocopying, and put it in the tray, and the card will be scan it, and then the service center in India or in the US or in Australia, they will scan is there any risk or compliance issue, and then buy into your bank account and the process to pay. I think it's a very traditional. But in the new way, you can capture the expenses like I have by voice. You can use your smartphone to capture the receipt over the smartphone, and then it will automatically upload to the system. And also you can use your GPS to locate, for example, you claim your mileage for your driving, your oil mileage, right? You can be using a GPS to capture the distance and then automatically calculate the mileage for you. I think it's a very typical example like how do we leverage the mobile application in the ERP, right? Let's give you an example. Another thing is social collaboration. Today, Facebook approach, I like, I don't like, right? How much like you have. And also, what's your peer comment to the project? I suddenly have to create a research project. I need some expertise from all of the group or outside the Hong Kong country. How do we do that? So I think we are leveraging all this social media, technology for the project. Every time when you bring a project, you can create a collaboration with your supplier, with your project team, with your engineering team for the same project. You can also leverage a forum, tagging, activity stream, key blocks, all these things within your project domain. So this additional data, like the social media data, we embed it within the ERP transaction. That's why you can analyze your knowledge, also your project in more different perspective. There is also some new approach. All right, not just limit on this type of technology, but just today, just try to share some big thing for you. All right, got that? 5 minutes, right? Here is a kind of the implementation strategy. You can select, like, I'm not sure sure whether you heard about that Big Bang phased out approach. Today we don't have that much time, but just give you some terminology. I think Professor Lau will help you with that. Line of business of bipolar line. When you implement a ERP system, again, it is not force your staff or even not force someone to do something. It is really a change program, not a software. It's a change program. Okay, remember that part. Otherwise, you will be going to be fair, in the ERP solution implementation. And the technology adoption is really you need to consider is the flexibility and open architecture. Why that's so important? Later on, if you have time, you can come. I can tell you because the rigidity of the system causes a lot of issues when you integrate back to your enterprise and your supply chain. Alright. Lastly, I will conclude with a case study. It's a Hong Kong public health organization. I cannot mention the name, but I can tell something about that. And basically, it's a very large organization, 20,000 employees. They implement the ERP solution within 5 years or more by phased approach. And the first part they take on with the HRMS. Why? Can anyone guess why they're taking the ERP with the HRMS?
20,000 is a quite big number of employees.
Yeah, smart. Yeah, I told you the tips, right? Okay, it's good because the big expenditure is from the payroll side and the human resources. That's why from the corporate perspective, they need to manage the payroll, the leave, and also the HR record, all these things. These are very complicated process within a professional organization. All of this management is very important. And the second, they implement the budget and plan to enable them in a more effective way to do the budgeting cycle because it is really a public organization. Budget is a key thing within the organization. And the third, they try to implement a centrally the procurement supply chain solution. They further divide it into two phases. One is what we call the non-drugs, another called the drugs. Non-drugs and drugs mean is a different things because when we're talking about drugs, it's talking about the clinical management system. I'm not sure you heard about that. It's very huge. When you go to a hospital, you see the screen and the computer very lovely, right? It's a CMS. They will integrate back to the ERP for the procurement side to supply all the medical equipment, pharmacy, all these things, okay? And you can see that they are taking a phased approach. But at the end of the day, what they're trying to achieve is a compliance and the governance. They want to control the cost and the compliance perspective. And the second, they try to achieve is a supplier management with a better quality management. Because when you can imagine, when you go to a clinic, you take some medicine is with some problem, in a quality problem, they were taking a very important responsibility. All right, so I think we don't have much time on that, but just give you the idea, leveraging different technologies. This is ERP. It's a quite a large implementation in Hong Kong. Okay, so I open up for the Q&A. Not sure if you have time, or maybe leave it on the panel discussion later on. So Ronald, may I pass the time to you?
Token of appreciation. And we would like to invite Professor Lau to present the gift. We are going to get to surrender for you. Let's give a warm applause for the great presentation again. next keynote speech is Meeting ERP, Open ERP, a New Era of ERP. Meeting Open ERP, a New Era of ERP. And it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. King Wang, Managing Director of OS Consulting Group, to all of us. Mr. Wang founded OSCG with two co-founders, and he has many years of experience in designing and sales management for various industries. He also worked in many OEM factories in mainland China as foreign business directors. He successfully founded and managed a foreign sales department for a leading infrastructure material manufacturer. Mr. Wang graduated in HKUST and is an alumni of EEMAA program. Let's give a warm welcome to our speaker, Mr. Wang, with his keynote speech, Meeting Open ERP, a New Era of ERP.
Okay, good morning everybody. So I know it was a hard time for you to come so early this morning. Because I was one of you, so each Saturday I want to have more sleep. But nowadays when I get older, so I can't get up quite early every day. Okay, so thanks Ronald for the welcome speech, and thanks for Jonathan for the very motivated introduction to the Oracle, and to all of you to know about the quite high-end ERP solutions. Okay, so now I'm going to turn to something new, and for this part, I think I'm going to give a quite different approach in how to introduce or how to conduct my speech or my presentation. Basically, I was starting to let you know about something about the Open ERP, because I believe everybody probably knows Oracle, but very, very few people nowadays knows Open ERP, especially in Hong Kong or in Asia. And then I'm going to discuss a little bit more on the how the ERP, how is the differentiators of Open ERP. Then will comes to the some of the a little bit of information of our company, and also our solutions, as well as in the end, I probably, if I still have time, I show you why after you finishing EM, that will help you, if you go to the ERP business or even doing some internal ERP consultant for a company, it will be great studies here in a lot of the courses in EM. Okay, so what is ERP? Okay, so I believe if you are here, you should know that, and also Janice will also give you some of the information about that, so I'm just simply skip it. Alright. So there's common executive problems. Again, this is the problem that an ERP typically can solve for the executives or for the management for a company. Alright, so again, so to save some treasure time of all of us. Okay, now goes to something you might not know. Okay, you might not familiar with. It's called the open source. Because Open ERP is an open source ERP system. It's actually right now is the #1 open source ERP system in the world. So it's better for you to know what is open source. Okay. The definition of open source has been defined by many organizations. So I just simply take one of that from the open source initiative called OSI. So first of all, it's free redistribution. Okay, so you cannot sell it. Okay, as a license fee. Okay. So this is like open source. Is the most of the people knows open source means free. And then the source code must be available in readable form. Okay, you cannot use your own technology and then write into some Mars code. Nobody gonna know. This is also not too good. So typically people used to use some well-known technology like the programming languages to design some of the projects so that you can share with many more people. Alright, so you are able to derive the work, which means you are able to take the code from somebody else and you can do some modification on top of that. Again, that is a good cycle, but you still need to release redistribute the source code to everybody else. Okay, and they will be under the same terms. right? No discriminations. Every organization mentioned about that. And then the distribution of license. You can see the very important is the closing up the software is forbidden. Actually, open source, they still have something called license, but it's an open source license. Okay, so inside open source license, it's very important is you can never close up the software. And also the license, the open source license must not be specific to a product, certain product. Okay, so these are the things that open source. I extracted from some very long articles to let you know, to get more familiar with what is open source. All right, so then I'm going to talk about some of the open source ERPs. The first thing I'm going to talk is called Compia. All right, this is a very pioneer, the very early player in this industry. So the first version of Compia started in 1999. However, it was acquired by some company in 2010, okay, which leads to close the commercially they closed the source, so they will not no longer you can download the free version of Compia. Okay, but there are still a couple of people or community they use the Compia before they close the source code, and they start another project called Adampia. Okay, I believe Ronald will also mention about Adampia in the classroom later on. And another is called OpenBravo. So OpenBravo tends to be also very big recently. But again, it's actually I think a couple of years ago, they also invested by a private company. So previously it was an open source project, so people are happy. A lot of people working on the project. But when they were managed by a private company and they want to make money. So again, they have something called community version, which you can still download it and you can still use it. But there's also a paid version, which has much more functions and a lot of useful functions that you probably will need it every day. It will not be included in the community version, so that you have to pay. And OpenBravo has a lot of offices all over the world. Not like other open source projects. They typically don't have sales team, marketing team. But OpenBravo, they have an office also in Shanghai. As far as I know, it's a big office. They're doing sales and marketing quite a lot. The lastly is the thing we are doing is called OpenERP. So it was founded in 2002 in Belgium. Okay, so now our headquarters is still in Belgium. It's called Fabian. He's a very smart guy. He's quite focused on the development of the product, even up to now. So you can see why a lot of people do not know OpenERP, because they don't really spend a lot of money in the marketing sales. So people just don't know. It's in this region, like our company promotes this brand quite a lot, so that people can know more about that. And in 2005, it was called Tiny ERP, so that's why you see a small ants, So it's because it's called Tiny ERP before 2005. Then after 2005, they changed the name to OpenERP, and still, a lot of the financial support is from the Belgian government. So that's why up to now, it's still fully open source. Okay, everybody can download anything, any modules, any function, can use anything. But I cannot guarantee they will open source forever. Because again, maybe someday they will acquired by some of the other company, or they were invested by some very eager person, so they want to make money, so they will still close the source. Okay. There's some small players like Xtuple and OpenTabs, but again, these tools are mostly community. When we call communities, means they do not have a formal company which run in behind. Like a Compia, OpenBravo, OpenERP, they all have a company, like a commercial company like Oracle. They have their own quality control of the source code, quality control of the functions, a lot of things. But other projects like Xtuple, OpenTab, they are more community focused. So they are not really popular in commercial world. Okay, so this is some trends of OpenERP. I mentioned most of them in the previous slides. So here, just to mention the last one, actually end of 2012 or earlier this year, OpenERP published the latest V7 version, which is a very nice looking, cutting edge technology, HTML5 web-based system. So I'll show you a little bit more later. All right, so currently it's the #1 in open source ERP. Okay, in terms of the installation every day, in terms of probably the useful modules all over the world, and also the working, actually now is much more than 300 working partners like us. I think right now should be more than 500 or even more. And we have, other than the companies like us, we also have the community. So we have more than 1,000 active developers all over the world to contribute to the source code, to the functions. So you can see later, OpenERP has a lot of fancy stuff which in the traditional ERP does not have. Okay, so it supports multiple languages, including Chinese, of course. So and there are some graphics here. So on the left-hand side, it was some screenshots from the system. Okay, so you can see it's quite fresh, quite clean. And the right-hand side is the comparison among the 3 open source giants. So OpenERP compared with OpenBravo. So you can see after 2008, the blue line is the OpenERP, start to grow very rapidly, but the other 2 remain the same or going down a little bit. So in the future, we expand OpenERP expect to be the most popular ERP system in the world. Okay, we can have the most users in the world, and these are the numbers that we expect. 2 million users, 3 million users. But in the end, OpenERP is quite still product oriented, so we don't have a lot of marketing data. So these numbers, it's just we think about it. And the Google Trends again here, you can see the popularities between the OpenERP and OpenBravo. So OpenERP is just go up very high recently. And now I'm going to talk some key differentiators. Okay. So first of all, of course, open source. I've been talking this for a while. So this is I think most the biggest difference, from the other popular ERPs. Secondly, is talking about the price performance ratio. Of course, this one is quite objective. So it really depends on how the scope of your project and how the way you want to conduct. Because using OpenERP or any open source system, you have a lot of more solution or approach to do the project. Based on your budget, based on your company situation. So you can actually the price performance ratio can be higher than probably 80 or 90% better than the traditional ones, depending on the way you want to do your system. I will talk about some new concept later as well. So and we have huge official modules. So you can see here we have here's just some samples. You have sales, purchase, warehouse, project management, manufacturing, accounting, human resource, and also we have CRM, human resource. I mentioned about human resource over here. I think just now Jonathan also mentioned that the ERP now becomes more integrated. Every traditional ERP, they also want to put the other front end applications into the ERP itself. So, but the difficulty or the challenge for the traditional ERP is because the architecture was designed many years ago. Okay, they were not think about to putting this stuff like CRM into the system. So nowadays they spend a lot more time on how to improving how to really deep integration with the other applications. But as OpenERP starts very lately, so when they started, they designed very good framework so that they include everything. A lot of things that you cannot even imagine. For example, we have the we by default we already have the we have the marketing campaign, for example. Okay, you can do some marketing campaign in the OpenERP. Okay, to link with, for example, your purchasing department, to link with your warehouse department. For that, if I want to do a marketing event, so I need to buy something, for example. All right, so we can also link to the project management. All right, okay, the project management is also a very good example in the OpenERP, which was being used by a lot of companies. I think it's very useful, and it was integrated very well. It can calculate the cost. The person, especially for a service company like us. Okay, we can see how much hours we spend on a specific project. So it's all integrated in the same system. Okay, so it's seamlessly with the other with the accounting modules. So this is also a very big difference and a big advantage of OpenERP. So I was talking about a good framework. So OpenERP has the most developed modular technology. So that's why we can have a lot of more new stuff as the time goes by. So if there's something new happens, like in V7, we also have a lot of social network integrations. Like we integrate with LinkedIn, we integrate with Google's. So you can do a lot of fancy stuff between using the latest technology. So you can expect when the time goes and new technology comes in, by using OpenERP's module technology, okay, we can deploy a new function very easily. So this better framework I was talking about. There's a fully functional HTML5 web client. So many of my clients, when they try to use OpenERP, they find, wow, that ERP system is running so fast. So in case you will take Ronald's class, if you are testing SAP, you will find a lot of times SAP takes a lot of time to loading. When you're trying to view something, it's just you say why it's never And a lot of times when a lot of people access to database, sometimes it's just crashed. So if you using OpenERP, you will feel it's super smooth. Okay, it's because the technology is new and the architecture is simple. Okay, relatively. So when you use it, you just like browsing some website. Okay, like some news web or like browsing Facebook, something like that. Okay, another thing is it's an easy integration with the other applications, which probably will not be included, in the out-of-box OpenERP package. For example, we've been doing some e-commerce integration with a lot of e-commerce platform, like in China's Taobao, Tmall, and we have the connection to eBay, Amazon. We have things. We also have connectors to Magentos, these individual e-commerce platforms. And we also have experience in the third-party logistics warehouse. So third-party warehouse, they have their own system. Okay, so it's better if your ERP can do synchronization with them. It will save a lot of time to both of the parties. So here's some of the fancy screenshots from OpenERP. So the first one is we call the Kanban view. It's more like it's actually Japanese view. So you can drag and drop the things to different stages. And this is, I think, this is a project management view. So you have a lot of tasks you assign to different people, different projects. And here's some, fancy graphic views. And here we call the dashboard, this part. The dashboard is also something like, how to say, it's more like a to-do list every day. So if you log into the system, the first page you can see is your dashboard. For example, I am purchasing stuff. I'm going to see here, I have so many requests for quotation sent out already, but never get back from the suppliers yet. So every day I need to take care of this, per record the suppliers to see why you don't give me feedback of pricing about delivery day or whatever. Okay, also I can see, like for here, supply comparison, I can see different suppliers, how much business I've been doing with them. Okay, we have monthly purchase per category, and this one is customizable by each user. So each user can define their own. And the left corner is the calendar view. Okay, we have a lot of calendar views in most of the modules. Okay, you have in the sales, you can have your meetings with clients, you will have your order days, you have your delivery order days. In manufacturing, you will have your manufacturing order days, a lot of things. So these are only a couple of the screenshots. Then we talk about the implementation. Implementation, one of the things is actually nowadays a lot of the ERP also adopt the phase by phase one, also Janice just mentioned about that. So we are the same. So from the open ERP, because the module technology, the upgrade or the second phase or third phase, the later phase is even easier than the other systems. For example, here I give you a very simple example. So we can start with the project management. Because typically everybody thinks project management is quite isolated from the other modules in an ERP system, which means if I mess around with the project management, it really won't affect too much of my other business. So after the project was deployed, so a lot of users got trainings and they got used to the interface of the open ERP about the logics, workflows inside, and also the operations. So then we're starting, for example, I can put more like sales. For example, I'm a service company. I want to also put my contracts in the system so that every contract will convert to a project internally so that I can assign to some project team. And then I can have invoicing to the manpower that I'll be using for the clients. Right? Lastly, if everybody think, oh, OpenERP is really nice, it's good, it's easy to learn, so we can have a full implementation for all the other modules. Okay, this is also another thing. OpenERP is starting with the web-based system very, very early. I think back to V5. So now we have V7, right? So back to V5, we already have the web-based version, which is a fully functional version, which means you don't need any other clients. And in the previous two versions, in V5 and V6, we still have a client. It's like you need to install software in the system, in the computer, so that you can use the system. So in V7, they just totally threw that away. So they just force everybody to use the cutting-edge technology, okay, to use a web browser. And in the web browser, you can see much fancy stuff, because the technology is for the user interface is much better. So here I also give you a little bit of the concepts of why open source can help the company save the some of the money. Basically is a difference. A major difference is about the license fee. Okay, also the easiest way you can understand. Typically, it's like around 20 to 25% of the implementation cost for the typical ERP system. So a lot of people ask why you can have license and you don't need license, but you can still survive, right? Because as I said, in OpenERP, we really don't have marketing cost. Okay, we don't have service support. Service support comes to us. We provide service support, the partners. And we also have very limited administrative cost. All the people in the headquarters, they are like developers. They are like a project management. Okay, so all their money goes to the product. So that's why we don't have a license because we don't have this kind of cost breakdown inside the company. So that's why typically the license fee is definitely can be saved in any sense at the very beginning. Okay, so here is actually I have a full set of the in-depth analysis of that one, but I probably will leave it to next time. It will take too long to discuss. So here is some of the point that we think OpenERP can be the best choice for a lot of the enterprise. First of all, it's a low risk. The low risk, we are talking about the implementation method and also the software itself. As I said, we can start with a very simple modules. The reason we start with that is because we can allow more time for the user to get into the system before we have a very big launch of each of the functions. Okay, so this is one thing. The second thing is about the openness of the system itself. Okay, the openness provides a flexibility for you to customize it. Okay, for you to, a lot of times for you to integrate with a legacy system, which probably was in your company for 10 or 20 years already, but it's very hard for you to just dump it like that. Okay, so you still maybe need a transition, you need a period of time that you need to parallelly run two systems. Okay, I can also give you a real case study later about talking about this one. So in the end, when we implement the project, a very important concept is to lower the risk. But a lot of the ERP systems, it goes bad, it goes fail later. It's because they don't control the risk very well. Okay, the second thing is the no tie down by developer. As we are open source project, so if the customer think our company is not good consulting company, okay, they can easily find another one, or they can hire a developer internally, and they don't have to pay for something to develop the system, not like the other traditional ERP. You need to pay a special extra license for the development console or the development license. Okay. The third part is the tailor-made stuff. So of course we don't really push the customer saying, oh, you need a lot of customization, you need a lot of tailor-made. But this again increase the risk, very to a very high level if you have a lot of customization work to be done. So but again, if the customer is really special in a very special business, without customization, they probably cannot use any of the functions of the ERP. Then you still need to customize. You still need to tailor-made. So in that case, in that sense, we think OpenERP provides a very good, simple and ability to have a quick customization done in the company. The last two is about the cost. Of course, we are talking about how open source can save money, how open source is free. So of course, it's not only the cost saving. Also, we talk about the cost effective is because it's also flexible in service charge and flexible in the contract mode. Okay, we don't have like you must go through like this way, 20% goes here, 20% goes here, 20% goes here. But if you are real, small company, you only have probably under 100,000 budget for the ERP system. By using Open ERP, you can still have a lot of choices. You can still have a lot of deployment method. Okay, you can consult with us. We can give you some suggestion. Okay, we can give you pros and cons. Of course, you can later decide if you really want to use the Open ERP or you really want to do the ERP system in your company. So here is some of the selected Open ERP functional modules. This is real limited stuff. Okay, the very basic stuff here. So here's also some of the frequently used modules and some of the description functions. I believe all the ERP they already have these kind of functions anyway. So I will also skip this one. Okay, it's impossible to list all of them here. So here is Open ERP used in the world. This one is provided by our headquarters. So interestingly, you can see Oracle over there. So I don't know, which part of Oracle was using Open ERP, but yeah, interestingly, I would also be asked the question, why Oracle is here? It's your competitor. I think, well, I don't know, because you can see here all the European company, Danone, La Poste, those things is all, French company or whatever. Okay, so this is weird. But today is even weird because Jonathan is here. If I just tell my client, it's fine. I think, oh well, we have some cooperation. Okay, so I'm talking about some challenges in the open source ERP. Okay, so the very big challenge is the low brand awareness. First of all, the brand itself, they don't promote, they don't do marketing sales. I talked with them, they said, they only have like 100,000 Hong Kong dollars for the marketing each year. So I think, well, it's even less than my company. So that's why we have a very low brand awareness, especially in Asia and China. Actually, nowadays, Open ERP in Europe and America is very good. It's actually quite, the awareness is reached a very high level. And also low market share. So when we talk to a customer, they're always saying, okay, can you give me some, Fortune 500 example who is using Open ERP? Well, I cannot typically. Now I can. We have a couple of the projects, but before it's really hard. And it's improving. Before our company is the first one in Hong Kong doing Open ERP. The time when we start our company, that's really hard to explain to a customer what is Open ERP. But nowadays, a lot of customers comes to us saying, okay, they want Open ERP. But Open ERP has a very hot topics in this industry lately. Okay, secondly is lack of experts and specialists. Okay, it's also very typical in this industry because we don't have the course in the university which is teaching Open ERP. We have course teaching probably SAP, probably teaching Oracle, and also the technology we're using in Open ERP is quite Western style. So in Asia or in Hong Kong, it's really hard. You can learn, even you want to learn, but it's hard for you to find a good place you can learn how to implement Open ERP or how to develop Open ERP. So this also result of a low, it is a result of the low market share. Nobody knows, so nobody want to learn it, right? So that's why I also cooperate with Ronald quite a lot. I want to promote Open ERP in the university. I want to know, more and more people know the Open ERP so that when it goes out and when they work for some company, they can suggest to their boss, saying, we probably can use Open ERP. Okay, it's very important. So maybe if you take Ron's class, you probably will see me again later. And lack of remarkable successful stories. Again, it's the same. Okay, Fortune 500 still prefer proprietary ERP or traditional ERP like SAP or Oracle. And also management is not ready for taking the risk. Okay, so the people will just I said to my boss, I must use Open ERP. Then if the things goes wrong, then how can he do? Right? If he suggested we should use SAP, then if this project goes bad, so well SAP can even not do that. So it's not my fault. So this typically is, so that's why management is really when I talk to them, the middle management is I can feel that they don't really want to take this risk to adopt Open ERP. The lastly is also very interesting is people typically don't believe in free. Okay, they think, oh, you talk is free. Well, that I use this system, then you're starting to charge me, you know, every month the additional cost that I was not noticed before. Another thing is, free is all linked to, you know, with poor quality, you know, low reliability. Okay, so this is especially, you know, in Chinese mindset. So it's sometimes also very weird. You know, you talk about, so we don't typically mention about free. Okay, we use some other words. You know, try not to show our things like a free to give or something like that. It's like very cheap, but actually it's not. Okay, so these are the challenges I think is in the open source. Not only open source ERP, actually a lot of open source applications also have these kind of problems. However, there's a challenges, there's a chance, there's opportunities. So I here also can share with you some of the opportunities. First of all, okay, you can be a functional consultant in this industry, okay, which is doing the function part, of course. Okay, then you can specialize in some of the major mergers, okay, like accounting, warehouse, CRM, manufacturing. Like in SAP, you have even fancy words you don't know, like MAMP something S. Right. I forgot, sorry, Ronald. Yeah. So, and then you also probably can assist in sales and marketing activities. Okay, then if you are a technical geek, then you can also tie to the technical consultant. So you can participate in the technical part of the project, or you can use better to be equipped by yourself with some like Python, it's for the Open ERP, some database knowledge, some server maintenance, even web design. This is about the UI. All these things that we were talking about UI a lot. But nowadays the user experience is really important. And you can also have, if you have knowledge in business intelligence, you have the interface, which we call the interface is the connection between the different systems. Also, you can assist the functional consultant with the pre-sales activities. You can also be a project manager. Okay, so in an ERP system, project manager is also very important. Okay, so you can use the knowledge in EM. Okay, I'll talk about a little bit more of this one. It's quite interesting. I found out last night actually. Lastly, you can also have your own business opportunities, like myself, right? So I can see this one have a lot of challenges. The market is still, not quite good before. So it's low entrance to start. You don't have to pay a lot of money. You don't have to buy a lot of equipment. Okay, you can just start it and try to focus on some industries. And then if you become an expert, then people will come to you. Okay, of course, it's also high challenge to do that, to do it good. Okay, then I'm talking about. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on our company. So we're called OS Consulting Group, and we headquartered in Hong Kong, and we also have an office in Shanghai. It's a technical center actually. In Hong Kong, we don't have developers. So our philosophy is beyond professional, result-oriented, open-minded, win-win. Okay, so very fast. So you can check our website. So we are the earliest pioneers in Open ERP. The co-founders of our companies are all very, famous in the community before about doing Open ERP. So we also draft and also actually offer it for free in the internet about all the documents that we write ourselves. Okay, so for example, the development guide. I think this one is almost a couple of hundreds pages. It's really a lot. So we just we want to share with everybody, so more people can get to know about this system. Okay, so we have a lot of implementation cases. Okay, when we just start up in any project, we take it and we think about solutions, we do it. So here we have some of our select clients. It's not the Open ERP ones, ours. So especially in China nowadays, a lot of big companies like ZTE, okay, like EEMAA. If you are from Shenzhen, Guangdong area, you should know about that. Okay, so they are starting to using this one, and their solution could be very interesting. And also there's the Shengyu. Okay, the Shengyu is I think the third largest bag products like liner, sheet, these things. The third one in China. Okay, they were doing the OEM, they were doing the manufacturing. Nowadays they are starting to do e-commerce, so they want to use a flexible new system to do that. Okay, so what we typically do, okay, this one, okay, is actually for the EEMAA. Okay. So EEMAA is a very special company. Okay, they are in a very special business models. But this is the existing system graphic. Oh yeah, sorry, that's Chinese. Okay, so I prepared for their management this one. So you can see there are a lot of things. They have, they have the counters in the supermarkets, which they don't do cashier. Okay, they just sell, and then the people goes to the supermarket to pay it, and the supermarket pay them back later. Okay, they also have their own shop, which they also do the cashier. Okay, then they have their membership. Okay, this is the membership system, and they have like a different ERP. They are using King K3. Okay, they have different how do you say, business units. Okay, they use different King Ds for the accounting purpose. They have manufacturing. They have the general ledger, the big one, the consolidated one. They also have the sales one, and they also have their own factory. They need to dispatch the products. So we call it a dispatch system, which is also a separate system. So you can see all their system is like we call it like spider web architecture. You know, they have multiple links among all the applications. So nowadays they have a problem is when the management want to see something, either they cannot get data or the data is wrong, and also takes forever to get the reports from system. So they are trying to fix all the connectors. All these lines is like they use some like APIs or develop some connections, synchronizations. But you know, 1 or 2 is fine, but once you have a spider web like something, that is going to be crazy. Okay, data will be broken up somewhere. So they are trying to optimize their link, but it's hard. So they start to want to do it, you know, from scratch, from using a new system. Okay, again, they also have some discrete, isolated system. Like currently their own shop POS is separately using a local, POS machine. They also have their e-commerce. The e-commerce, they use a separate system. And also they don't have management in purchasing, they don't have management in manufacturing, they don't have management in product lot. You can imagine for a food company, if there's no production lot, it's a big problem later. Now this is what we propose to the customer. We centralize everything to OpenERP. A lot of front-end application you cannot eliminate them, like the PDS. They already buy 2,000 PDS already, so they cannot simply dump it. It's very high cost. And then, of course, the membership system is also a special system. OpenERP cannot do that, or will spend a very long time to do that. And the e-commerce, which means the front end, like Taobao or their own web shop, we can also not replace them by using ERP. And also the K3. Okay, K3 in China is like it's like God in accounting. So you cannot really replace them. Even you want, but the people, the accountants in the company or the accountant in the audit, they will not allow you to do that. And then again, their dispatch system. The dispatch system is a really good one. This is one of the best systems they're using right now. It's like automatic warehouse stuff. When you have some orders, delivery orders into the system, it will automatically dispatch, put different raw materials, and then go around with the belt. Then the people just take. Is there a screen? I checked that there's a screen saying, you should take 10 kilogram of this bean, black bean, 10 kilo of the yellow bean, something like that. So people, along the line, they just see it and take it. They don't need to think about it. So all of things we won't replace them. For a detailed solution, it's very interesting, but I don't have time to take it. It's almost like this diagram. And then again, their own shop POS and also the purchasing manager, manufacturing, assets, human resource, production law, they will be already in the OpenERP. So there's no connection need.